The federal case against Sean Diddy Combs is based on sealed testimony, court papers, and confirmed industry correspondence. It was never intended for what you are about to hear to come to light, but it has, as the prosecution stood to introduce a confidential witness using the identity A. Cook on day 11 of the trial. The judge asked for silence. Few people in the gallery responded, but those who were aware of it understood because one of the most respected and untouchable women in music is Alicia Cook. The prosecution did not identify Alicia Keys by name. They were not required to. We are submitting the sealed written evidence of a Grammy-winning music artist who participated in a 2010 cooperation request involving the defendant, they said, merely setting a big manila packet on the edge of the bench. Her statements are self-evident. 5 handwritten pages that were dated, initialized, folded 3 times, and affixed with a sticky note that said, "Please do not let this disappear," were found within the envelope. I contemplated writing this letter for years, but silence is a response in and of itself, and mine has been too drawn out. She acknowledged that she was asked to participate in a collaborative charity music project and healing campaign in early 2010 in order to restore the perception of authority in Black entertainment. Combs Enterprises was the primary sponsor. It sounded essential, safe, and like something I was glad to support. However, something felt off. According to Alicia, the itinerary her team was given seemed strange. 3 days of off-the-record creative seminars that were closed to photographers, the media, and management. The location will only be made public 48 hours before takeoff. She was still prepared to leave, but everything changed when she received a phone call. The previous evening, a background vocalist from another label who I hardly knew called. It had been years since I had spoken to her. "Do not attend. They will ask you to play, but it will not be music," she added. Alicia's flight was canceled. She misled the public by claiming that it was because of an unforeseen issue with parenthood. In actuality, that vacation seemed staged in some way, as if I were being cast rather than invited. She was unaware at the time that some people did leave. Some stayed, some returned, changed, and some never returned. That weekend troubled me because I do not know what I avoided, but I know it was not a writing camp, she said as she concluded the first page. The court remained motionless once the prosecution had completed reading that part. Since Alicia Keys had never said this, not even the defense raised an objection, and now she had just stated everything without naming anyone or pointing a finger. The date, July 12, 2013, was written on the second page of Alicia Keys' handwritten testimony. There were 2 underlines on the top line. "The doors that appear normal are always the cause." The prosecution read on. "My assistant called me in a panic when I was at home. She informed me that a video clip was doing the rounds on back channels. People were talking about it, but it had not yet been released to the media." She claimed that although the video was brief, grainy, and faceless, the room was clearly seen. "I had been invited there once, so even though I had never been there in person, I knew what it was. The hallway, the red lighting, and the heart-pounding music all remained the same." She was asked whether she wanted to see it by her assistant. "No," she said. "I was already aware of its contents. I could sense it even if I was not watching." She sat by herself on the studio floor to end the day. That is the same house. She told her husband that evening. "In the invitation booklet, I noticed that door. Then I ought to have said something. Exhibit 20B, a scanned copy of the original 2010 itinerary that Alicia had been given, was presented by the prosecution. It had the caption, 'Sanctuary of Sound,' and a stylized picture of a red lacquered door. Legacy is an entry. No one outside her team had ever seen it. The most difficult portion of the letter was yet to come. I began to forget things around 2016 minor details keys for a piano. The chord changes. My lyrics. Maybe I was exhausted, I thought. Perhaps I was simply exhausted, but I knew in my heart what it was. Shame does not shout, it reverberates." She talked of experiencing panic episodes prior to important performances. She would freeze backstage for a few moments. She was afraid that someone would come up to her with that voice, not that she would perform. "I dreamed that someone would approach me and tell me, 'You were destined to be one of us.'" She called her lawyer while rehearsing for a benefit concert in 2017. "Not a press, not a team, just one thing. I handed him a folder that was sealed. 1 page of a journal I kept the week I canceled the trip was inside. I instructed him to show them this website if I ever got hurt." It leaned forward in the courtroom. The prosecutor produced Exhibit 20C, a scan of that journal page from the binder. "There are things I will never be able to utter," it said, written in pen. "However, I can still stop some things. Tell them I made the decision to remain silent if they wish to do so. Only once though. One statement had been underlined 3 times by her. Do not allow them claim that I did not anticipate anticipate it. By the conclusion of page 3, no notes were being taken in the courtroom. All they were doing was listening, for this was not just another public figure coming forward. It was someone whose entire career was based on artistry, empowerment, and the truth. For the one thing she had never sung about, she was now at last using her voice. She saw and avoided these things. The prosecution proceeded to the 4th page of the testimony. It was a different page. There is less poise in the handwriting. They scratched out words. Others went around in circles. Some emphasized as though she was not only writing, she was struggling with herself. A name appeared on the page. Next, a date, October of 2010. That winter, she was set to release an album. I recall, since our hairstylist was the same, I inquired about her well-being. She is not the same anymore, he remarked, since the withdrawal. The artist was not named by Alicia. She clarified, however, that the woman had attended the same industry health event that Alicia had canceled. She was intelligent, bright, and talented, and she vanished after that weekend. Not disconnected. Immediately behind the curtain, she stopped posting on social media. Her contract was stopped by her label. She never made accusations in public. She simply vanished from view. I did not comprehend what I had gotten away with until then, and for the first time, I felt guilty for not alerting others. Alicia explained the subsequent months. She believed that her silence was now a weapon that could be used by anybody. When she discovered a note in her dressing room during International Music Award show rehearsals in 2012, that worry became crystal clear. No envelope, simply fold in half, enclosed by her piano bench. Legacy comes with silence. It said, "You are doing great. Remain that way." She kept her crew in the dark, failed to report it, did not even tell Swizz about it. The note was just destroyed by her, and composed. The date was written in a single sentence inside her journal. "Let them see me leave if they are looking." The emotional turn happened next. Years later, she explained she rewrote that statement. In 2023, when Cassie's case went viral online, I found that notebook page. The line was crossed by me. Below it, I typed something else. See Exhibit 20-D by the prosecution. Displayed the page scan, the initial phrase. "Let them see me leave if they are looking." Outlined underneath it with newer ink. "Let them see me return and talk if they are looking." Alicia made no attempt to solicit applause. She had no desire for publicity. She only wanted that one sentence, that one page, to be permanently a part of her life. Somewhere they were unable to remove it. It was in federal court now, because Alicia Keys was not merely taking the initiative, she was returning to the room from which she had left, but with her eyes fully open this time. The courtroom was no longer reacting aloud by this point. No more astonishments, no more oblique looks, nothing but silence. The kind that only occurs when everyone is beginning to think that what they were scared of could actually be true. The prosecution made a change. In 2018, Alicia wrote she was previewing production beats with a renowned producer in a private studio session in Tribeca, someone with whom she had worked for years, someone she had faith in. Then something took place. Ambient noise began one of the rhythms. I assumed that was included in the sample, or texture that is layered. However, the more I heard, the more I understood that it was not music. She stopped the music. Then it was played once more. The voice belonged to a female. Very, very faint. Then a phrase. "No one would ever trust me," he said. Then it made a cut. She stopped. Her producer gave her a glance. "That was a mistake," he remarked. "Playing that one was not my intention. Ignore it." However, I was unable to. Alicia did not inquire as to its origin. She did not push. However, she recorded the date on her phone and saved it because I was aware that I had heard something I should not have. She then met a music executive at a foundation event in London later that year. A female. Played the game for many years. They had a quick conversation. "You were lucky," the woman remarked, touching Alicia's arm as she turned to go. "You left. Remember that always." Alicia was at a loss for words. I had never spoken to her. It is not about the vacation I skipped. It has nothing to do with the note. It has nothing to do with the voicemail. However, she was aware. Exhibit 20E was introduced by the prosecutor. Later that evening, Alicia recorded a voice memo, only for herself. "Silence, I once believed, was power. I believe it to be a shadow now. I have been residing there as well." She then convened a meeting with her staff, not her public relations representative, not her hairdresser, only her personal assistant, lawyer, and business manager. She instructed them once, "You must keep everything for me. Call sheets, invite lists, even voice notes from the past. We will not be removing anything if this goes down." Even the prosecution was taken aback by what she added next. I have no idea what they have. However, I am aware that they also believe I have something. All I want is to be prepared for when they no longer politely ask. Once more, the court went silent because Alicia was not merely attempting to keep her reputation intact, she was getting ready for battle. Alicia Keys' sealed testimony did not start with a story on the 5th and last page. There was only one sentence in the start, like a lyric that refused to rhyme. It was centered on the page. My silence was not signed. However, they claimed that I did. Slowly, the prosecutor read it out loud. Then Exhibit 20F was presented. Alicia got a deal with a big corporate sponsor in 2011 that was connected to a world tour. For years, the deal had been known to the public. It provided funding for charitable appearances, music videos, and advertising initiatives. On the surface, everything appeared to be clean. However, Alicia claimed she never noticed a condition buried on page 42 of that contract. As of right now, Clause 8B, the artist consents to abstain from taking part in or offering commentary on any off-record events or mentorship-based development initiatives that were held prior to the agreement or that include Combs Entertainment Group, Inc.'s non-public intellectual property. The prosecution emphasized the phrase non-public IP and mentorship-based development programs, before pointing out that this section was not about brands. It has to do with memories. Alicia acknowledged that she did not read the entire contract before signing it. I was young. I was worn out. It was boilerplate. I was informed. Perhaps it was. But for what purpose is boilerplate used? It was not until 2020 that a junior member of her legal team noticed the clause when looking over contracts for an unrelated renewal that she realized it even existed. At that point, Alicia asked for her original files and began her investigation. She discovered that certain terms were used in 3 further contracts that were signed between 2011 and 2018. They all contained legal clauses that prohibited her from discussing development retreats, legacy events, or her experiences in the private education sector in public. They were still trying to silence her, even though she had never been to any of them. Then the altercation broke out. Alicia attended a private label party in early 2021, which was a legacy night for musicians who have worked for the company for more than 10 years. There were smiles everywhere, and drinks were flowing. Then she was called aside by a former label executive she had known since her first tour. He grinned, but his voice was abrasive. Hey, do not be brave. Individuals like you do not have to act irrationally. Simply let it go. Remain golden. You did a good job. She scribbled it down but did not reply. I became aware that I was not being remembered that night. They were managing me. The last 2 sentences of Alicia's evidence were read by the prosecutor to close out the reading. Truth, in my opinion, is a melody that may be softly sung and understood by others. However, now that I know it is a blade, someone will use it against you if you do not utilize it. The envelope was then closed after being sealed. The judge remained silent. Alicia Keys, who had built a career singing from the heart, finally opened up about her most private side, and the jury did not turn away. She had not even played a note. The final page of Alicia's statement was put on the stage by the prosecution. It was typed, bolded at the top, and dated solely with the year 2023, an additional declaration. The prosecutor read it word for word after Cassie filed. I had no intention of speaking, even after reading Cassie's lawsuit and seeing the headlines. Then I saw a video though, only a few seconds, a female exiting a structure. Put on your hood, and I saw it as she looked up. My eyes were on her. The same anxiety, the same computation, same awareness. She seemed to have witnessed something that is inexplicable, yet you bear it with you like a scar that no one else can see. Although Alicia did not identify the woman, it was obvious what she meant. Another had just stepped forward, someone who did not survive the initial attempt. The door was open now. The most poignant paragraph came next. I used to believe that simply leaving was sufficient. My silent rebellion was not entering that room, not signing, and not showing up. In actuality though, someone else opens the door when you leave it closed behind you, someone who may be unaware that the version of what is waiting on the other side is not safe. Exhibit 20G, the scanned last paragraph of Alicia's handwritten letter, was shown by the court. I am not posting this to incite hatred toward anyone, because I made it through the flames. I am writing it. I also recall the heat. I am not leaving this time. I am holding the door open behind me this time. The folder was closed by the prosecutor. No interrogation, no counter argument. For the record only, Alicia Keys never showed up for court. She did not have to. They had already heard her voice, and nobody was able to silence it this time.